going on, good people? DJ Ambush here. Thanks to everyone that came out to the Dead Presidents edition of Behind the Breaks. There were a couple of surprise decisions that night, which led to flare tempers that spilled over into the internet. So I told Castro to meet me over at Brewerytown Beats so we can get some insight into what the judges' thoughts were that night.
Well, I wasn't a novice to the event. I had attended one event, and my partner had entered one event. So I was pretty familiar with what was going to happen. And then I'm also really familiar with like the Dead Presidents soundtrack, Volume 1 and 2. So I was just expecting some beatsmiths to come and, do their thing. And I was interested to see what they were going to cook up. Not particularly. I was familiar with a few of them, but I was just interested. Like I guess I was paying attention to like the defending champion, your dad, and I won't mention any others, but I had some others on my radar. But like him, just in particular, because he had won, so I wanted to see what he was gonna bring in this edition. And I'm familiar with West and Manchild and Twiz, so just looking forward to seeing what people was gonna bring. Well, as the rounds went on, I kind of changed some of my expectations. So at first round, I'm just seeing what you got, what kind of weapon you got, how sharp is your blade, and because everybody's working with the same sample for the first beat. So once I got that, in the later rounds, maybe in the late rounds, I was looking to see if girls are bopping their head. You know what I'm saying? That's an interesting thing. Like, it's not necessarily if the beat's loud and cranking the club. Just look at girls that are silently bopping their head. That's like an unspoken, like, yo, you're doing a good job. Cause niggas gonna bop their head about fucking anything. Yeah, they gonna break the neck. Yeah, that's hot. No, it's cold in here, my nigga.
Were there any producers that exceeded your expectations?
I would say Twiz really impressed me, Twizmatic. Like I said, I'm familiar with some of his remixes and stuff, but to hear him really like get deep in the lab and come out with some interesting stuff. West Manchild, he fucked my head up with the Wu-Tang beat. You know what I'm saying? That was tight. Jay the Great, he kind of really impressed me. I would say he was the most impressive to me personally throughout the battle. No, because I was given some of the fucking results. I mean, I think people have certain expectations of judges, and I also think that people, because the crowd outnumbers the judge, they might think that their opinion has more weight, when really it don't. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of criteria that goes into judging a beat battle, and it's not just how many people I brought with me. Know the room that you're making sounds to display it, you know what I'm saying? So like, we're not in a studio, we're in a venue that has outboard gear. So they have house speakers. So maybe, if you can, maybe you can't, but mix it in a way where it's gonna flourish in that environment. Don't mix it in a way where it sounds good on just computer speakers. Don't mix it in a way where it sounds good on headphones or where it sounds good in a studio loud. That's a big trick a lot of producers will go at. Look, I'm an MC. I don't make beats. My people make beats. But I've been in studios where the beat's mad loud and you're high, you're smoking, and you're in there, oh, this is great. And you go home and you play it on something pedestrian, and you're like, dang. The smoke clears, and you're like, this is not as good a beat. A lot of beats can trick you just by being loud, like the wave can be all the way full, but that doesn't necessarily make a good beat. I just wanted people to mix their beats for the room. I wanted the samples not to be drowned out. Like, there's a lot of clicks and whistles at a beat battle that you can do to impress the crowd and or the judges, but if I hear the sample and then I hear 5, 6 things on top of the sample, then I don't think you're really doing your job. And since I knew the sample sources so well, that's what I was listening for. I mean, I saw that, but that shouldn't waver a judge. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you watch any dunk contest, Michael Jordan is rarely to give a 10 because he's just sitting there like, well, I could do that. You know what I mean? So he'll give hard 9s. And like I said, I'm an MC, so it didn't really, I'll put it like this, honestly, it didn't matter if it was a beat I would pick for myself personally. It just had to fit certain criteria. Was there any girl in the room nodding their head? Was there, you know what I'm saying, were there people not influenced by the crowd? So when the beat just kicks off and then all the beat makers' peoples are there and they going crazy, see what happens when it settles down, when the beat kicks into its 4th transgression, when it kicks past 4 bars. Is there a change? Is there You know, is there a third moment or is there a refrain, whatever. You know what I'm saying? See what that is. See if the beat has any lasting power when it could just be, like a beat might be dope for 30 seconds and then it sucks for a minute and a half. You know what I'm saying? So I was just looking for things like that. My compadres, Wrecking Crew, they're both producers themselves. So they were looking from technical aspects. So if there was too much white noise, if the low end wasn't kicking, if the hi-hat was buried, things like that, that I don't necessarily nitpick, but that's what they were listening for. So when you put all that together, I think that was a well-judged event, if I do say so myself. I don't give a fuck. I took it personal. I'm online like everybody else, and people, you know, calling my crew, wrecking the battle crew, so of course I took it personal. A recount is fine and well, but believe I'm gonna be judging it again. It's not gonna be catered to where you think you can win. You know what I'm saying? It should be a hostile environment. You shouldn't be getting no props from a judge. Judges shouldn't know you performing. There shouldn't be any nepotism. You know what I'm saying? So it's good. Have your peoples come out and see you, you know, exhibit your wares. But if you're not coming with no ruckus, then you know you gonna fall, and it's double elimination. So like you have 2 chances to not lose. Put it like that. You know what I'm saying? So I just felt like, yeah, I took it personal. That's some online shit. But I think we can do a recount. I got no problem with it. But best believe I'm gonna be the judge. So I say we split it down the middle. Just me judging. Forget my crew. Just me, and then let the audience they have a vote too. And we add it up. Bada bing. So you get what you want. And we can make it like Wall Street, people yelling out numbers, 3, 2, you know. I think people got caught up with, I think there was also a lack of understanding that, you know, the rating system went from 1 to 5. It wasn't no 1 to 10. So I think if people understood that, and there's a thin line, you can have a mediocre beat at 3, but if it's technically sound, it might lean to a 4. But if it's not, I might go back to a 2. It's something I heard before. That's another thing I didn't really like in the battle. Like, I'm very familiar with the soundtrack, old versions, so I didn't really want to hear beats that were kind of done already. I didn't want to hear a Mobb Deep song, which I did hear. I didn't want to hear a popularized sample that I know, you know, very well, that I did hear. You know what I'm saying? I wanted you to flip it. That's why I was the most impressed I was with that type of beat was when West Manchild did the whole flip and really chopped the beat up and took it apart and recreated it. I thought that was real clever. So, you know, I think mix for the room. Know the venue. Ask Am, what venue are we at? Is it a small room? Is it a big room? So start mixing with that in mind. Have the beat made for a beat competition. So if you make a beat for a cat that's rapping or whatever, it might not go over in a beat competition. The arrangement might be too long. It might not hit its main markers, you know what I'm saying, quick enough to wow a crowd. And just go with your gut. Like, don't matter what the judges, fuck what I'm saying or anything like that. Go with your gut, make what you make, be yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, to Asthmatic, he won because he was himself. It was that low rumble. Every beat had that low rumble, that bass growl that you're looking for. It was even some dub elements to it. So he was himself the whole time. He never went out his element. I say West Manchild was himself too. That didn't do so well for the competition in terms of advancing, but I feel like he didn't step out his own. I'm not saying anything about the other producers in that realm, but I'm just saying that that's what I would suggest. Just be you and see what happens. You know what I'm saying? Don't go there with any expectations, but go there ready to impress. Like my man, who was my man? June Tana. Yes, June Tana, bring him back. He's always himself. Plus he bring the honeys and, you know, Winnie the Pooh bringing the jar of honeys. And anyway, you know, that's just an example of somebody being themselves. You know what I mean? All right, I thought about this because I got the questions beforehand. So I had 3. So 1, we could do the recount. I'm down for that. It'll be a little low-key affair. We can even go upstairs to Kung Fu next. That's a smaller room. It's way more intimate. And you might actually win it over with your peoples, could fill it all up. And it's lower rent too. That's 1. 2, get her name, Nancy Wilson. I love her. So I would just be interested to see somebody do that. And all right, this might be a weird concept, but to take a well-renowned hip-hop soundtrack, Who's the Man, New Jersey Drive, and get the original samples for that. So we'll be making like a homage type. So like recreate this cut in your own vein, but it's from them hip-hop soundtrack, because I feel like those are kind of dying. So I think doing a beat battle based on like the Who's the Man soundtrack or Romeo Must Die soundtrack, you know, those joints that we even grew up with. You can go back, Crush Groove soundtrack, anything, and have the producers recreate those, because then it will give them a history lesson if they don't already have it, And also, I think we just want to revisit that. Like, I used to love soundtracks. Soundtracks ain't what they used to be no more. So if we got to force the hand with a producer battle to make us more of the soundtrack nostalgia, I think that would be dope. There it is.
I missed the first one to feel like Cuddy. I heard that shit was crazy, but this Dear President shit is definitely what it's hitting for. Like, seriously. I'm out here with my boys. We having a good time. It's going down. If you missed it, oh well.
Westman Child. Symphony. Twismatic. Oh shit! Cause they came out for Twiz, baby.